Close your eyes. Take a deep, slow breath and let it out. Imagine, if you will, the edge of the world, where the solid, reliable earth meets the vast, shifting mystery of the ocean. It is twilight here. The sun has dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky painted in soft strokes of indigo and violet. The air is cool and smells of salt and ancient stone. Standing tall against this fading light is a tower, a sentinel, a lighthouse. For thousands of years, these structures have stood between the safety of the land and the wild uncertainty of the sea. They are symbols of guidance, of hope, of a light that refuses to go out, no matter how dark the night becomes. Tonight, we are going to take a journey. A slow, quiet journey through time. We will climb the winding stairs of history, looking out over calm waters and stormy seas. We will learn of the ancient fires that burned on hilltops, of the glass prisms that turned candlelight into stars, and of the quiet, solitary lives of the keepers who watched over them. So, settle in. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. There is nothing you need to do right now. No course to chart. No sails to trim. You are safe in the harbor. Just listen to the rhythm of the waves and the story of the light. Our story begins not with a lens, but with a fire. Long before modern engineering, ancient sailors navigated by the stars. But when the clouds rolled in and the moon was hidden, the coastline became a place of danger. Take a moment here. Feel your breathing slow. There's no rush in this story. We move at the pace of the tide, gentle, predictable, safe. To guide these weary travelers home, the ancients built the very first beacons. These were not the tall, white towers we know today. They were simple fires, built on high hilltops or prominent cliffs. A pile of wood, glowing amber in the darkness, signaling that land was near. Picture those first fires now. The wood crackling softly. Sparks rising into the night sky like tiny, wandering stars. The warmth spreading outward in a gentle circle. And somewhere, far out on the dark water, a sailor sees that glow, and knows he is not lost. These ancient keepers of the flame had a simple ritual. As the sun began to set, they would gather their bundles of dry wood. They would climb the hill, their feet knowing every stone of the path. They would arrange the wood carefully, methodically. And as the first star appeared in the darkening sky, they would light the fire. It was a conversation between earth and sky, between the solid ground and the uncertain sea. The fire saying, simply, here. Here is where the land begins. Here is safety. Rest here with that image. The simple, ancient fire. Nothing complicated. Just warmth, light, and the promise of home. But as civilization grew, so did the ambition of the builders. In the 3rd century BC, in the harbor of Alexandria, Egypt, the most famous lighthouse in history was constructed. It was called the Pharos. It was a marvel of the ancient world, a masterpiece of masonry that stood over 300 feet tall. Imagine standing at its base, looking up at a structure that pierced the sky, built of pale stone that seemed to glow even during the day. At night, a massive fire kept burning at the very pinnacle. This light could be seen from a great distance across the water, a star tethered to the earth. To make the light visible, They used a massive mirror of polished metal to reflect the flames outward toward the sea. The mirror caught the firelight and threw it forward, like cupping your hands around a candle to direct its glow. The Pharos was so essential to the safety of sailors that its name became the word for lighthouse in many languages. In French, a lighthouse is a phare. In Spanish, a faro. Even today, when we see a beam of light sweeping across the water, we are seeing the echo of that great tower. Let your breath be like that ancient light. Steady, constant, reliable. In and out. In and out. Nothing you need to change. Just noticing the rhythm. The Romans understood the need for roads upon the water. They built lighthouses across their empire, from the Mediterranean to the distant northern coasts. One of these Roman sentinels still stands today. On the northwest coast of Spain, looking out over the Atlantic, is the Tower of Hercules. The core is ancient Roman stonework, though it has been cared for and encased over the centuries. Imagine this, the same spot on the same rocky coast, for 2,000 years. Soldiers and sailors, mothers and children, merchants and monks, all looking up at that same tower. The fuel has changed many times. Wood became coal. Coal became oil. Oil became electricity. But the tower remains. It is a testament to patience, to the slow, steady work of keeping a light burning. Year after year, century after century, through empires rising and falling, through languages changing and borders shifting, the light continues. Feel that continuity now, that sense of something older than memory, still performing its quiet duty. Let it calm you. Let it remind you that some things are built to last. As history moved into the Middle Ages, the care of these lights often fell to religious orders. Lighthouses were not run by governments, but by monks and hermits. For these holy men, maintaining a light was a form of charity. It was a sacred duty to protect life. Visualize the scene now, slowly and carefully. A cold, rainy night. Let's say it's autumn, and the year is 1200. Inside the tower, it is warm. The thick limestone walls keep out the wind. The smell of burning wood fills the air, mixing with the scent of damp wool and tallow candles. A monk in a heavy robe climbs the stone stairs. His footsteps are soft. He knows every step by heart. He carries a basket of fuel balanced carefully on his hip. The basket is heavy, but he has carried it 1,000 times before. He reaches the lantern room. He feeds the fire. He watches the sparks rise and dance in the updraft. He adjusts the vent to control the flame. And then he stands there, just for a moment, looking out over the dark, rain-swept sea. He is completely alone. And yet, he is deeply connected to every ship that passes in the night. His work is invisible. He will never meet the sailors he saves. But he knows they are there. And that is enough rest in that feeling of quiet purpose, of doing something good without needing recognition. Let your own thoughts settle like that monk standing in the tower, calm, present, complete. This was a life of profound solitude. But it was not empty. It was full of rhythm. The rhythm of the day, the rhythm of the seasons, the rhythm of the light itself. The rising sun meant the fire could rest. The setting sun meant it was time to climb the stairs again. The summer storms were brief and violent. The winter storms were long and patient. Spring brought the migrating birds. Autumn brought the harvest ships, heavy with grain, seeking safe harbor. The monk's life moved with these rhythms, not fighting them, not rushing ahead or falling behind, just moving with the natural pace of the world. Your own breath has a rhythm too. Notice it now, not changing it, just noticing. In and out, steady, reliable. Like the light in the tower, for centuries, the technology remained simple. Wood and coal were the primary sources of light. But they were imperfect. The keepers had to haul heavy fuel up hundreds of stairs every night. The smoke was thick and dark. If the wind blew the wrong way, the smoke would obscure the light, dimming the beacon meant to save ships. The glass would blacken within an hour. The keepers had to constantly clean, wiping away the soot to let the light shine through. It was a labor of love, and a labor of extreme physical effort. But the world was changing. The age of industry was arriving, and with it, a desire for a light that was cleaner, brighter, and more reliable. We're going to move forward now, gently, through time. From the coal fire to something brighter. But there's no hurry. We move at the pace of history itself, slow, inevitable, calm. In the 18th century, the first major leap forward occurred. We moved from the open fire to the oil lamp. Whale oil became the fuel of choice. It burned cleaner than coal and produced a steadier, brighter flame, but the flame is small. Even a bright lamp is just a tiny point of light in a vast, dark ocean. How do you take a small flame and make it visible from 20 miles away? This question puzzled engineers for years. They tried using metal reflectors, polished to a mirror finish, to bounce the light forward. It helped, but much of the light was still lost, scattering up into the sky or down into the water. The world needed a way to catch the light, to trap it, tame it, and direct it, and this brings us to a man named Augustin-Jean Fresnel. Fresnel was a French physicist who understood the behavior of light. In the early 1800s, he developed an invention that would save countless lives. It was a lens. But not just a simple magnifying glass. Imagine a sculpture made of glass. It stands as tall as 2 people, perhaps taller. It looks like a giant, transparent beehive or a crystal palace in miniature. This is the Fresnel lens. Instead of one thick piece of glass, which would be too heavy and would absorb too much light, Fresnel built his lens out of hundreds of separate, circular prisms. He arranged them in concentric rings, one inside another, like ripples frozen in crystal. When a small lamp is placed in the center of this glass sculpture, something magical happens. The prisms above the flame bend the light down. The prisms below bend the light up. And the center belt magnifies the light outward, straight toward the horizon. Almost all of the light is captured and focused into a single, intense, horizontal beam. A beam that cuts through the darkness. Picture that beam now. A sword of light, slicing through the night. Steady. Unwavering. Cutting through fog, through storm, through doubt. That's the power of focused intention. That's the power of clarity. The first time a Fresnel lens was lit, sailors described it as a new star on the horizon. It was a light so pure, so concentrated, that it could be seen over the curve of the earth itself. This beautiful object, this crystal palace of prisms, became the heart of every great lighthouse. And despite all our modern technology, the Fresnel lens is still considered one of the most efficient optical devices ever made. It is mathematics made visible. It is light made tangible. It is a work of art, born from the marriage of science and beauty. Rest here for a long moment. Picture that beam of light in your mind. Not harsh, not glaring, just steady and clear. It rotates slowly. The massive lens turns on its track with a gentle, mechanical grace. The beam sweeps across the dark water. Flash, then darkness. Flash, then darkness. Like a heartbeat of light in the quiet night. The darkness between the flashes is not frightening. It's necessary. It's part of the rhythm. The flash tells you where you are. The darkness gives your eyes time to adjust, time to see the stars, time to rest. Flash, darkness. Flash, darkness. Let your own mind have that rhythm now. Thoughts can come, and then they can pass. Like the beam of light sweeping past. You don't need to hold on to them. Just let them pass. Flash, and then quiet. Flash, and then quiet. You are safe in the darkness. The light will come around again. It always does. Take a slow, deep breath here. We're going to look at the foundations now. The stone and iron that holds the light steady. But we're not in a hurry. Just drifting through the story like a boat on a calm sea. Let the rhythm of the language lull you now, as we turn our attention from the light itself to the foundations it rests upon. To build a light on the land is one thing, but to build it in the shifting, hostile territory of the ocean is quite another. The ocean does not negotiate. It does not respect concrete or stone. It is tireless and patient, and its power is almost unimaginable. Building a permanent lighthouse on an isolated rock, far from shore, was considered one of the most dangerous construction jobs in history. Think of the challenge. Imagine taking massive blocks of stone, heavy tools, and hundreds of workers out to a single, dangerous rock that is only exposed for a few hours at low tide. This was the challenge faced when they built the Eddystone Lighthouse off the coast of Cornwall, England. The Eddystone rock was a notorious hazard. The first lighthouse there was swept away in a storm. The second caught fire and burned down, killing its keeper. This failure led to a revolution in design. An engineer named John Smeaton studied nature itself to find a solution. He walked through forests. He looked at ancient oaks, trees that had stood for hundreds of years through countless storms. And he noticed something. The strongest trees were not straight pillars. They were wide at the base and tapered gently as they rose. They had weight at the bottom. Stability. Gravity holding them to the earth. Think of an old oak tree now. See it in your mind. Roots spreading wide and deep. The trunk thick and solid at the base. Branches reaching up, but always anchored by that massive foundation. That's strength. That's patience. Smeaton's genius was in making the lighthouse foundation mimic the trunk of an ancient oak. The base was wide and heavy, and the stones were not just stacked. They were interlocked. He cut the stones so they fit into each other like pieces of a puzzle. Each block was held in place not just by mortar, but by the weight and shape of the blocks around it. When a wave hit, the stones pushed against each other, making the tower stronger, not weaker. Let that image settle in your mind. Strength that comes from connection, each piece dependent on the others. A massive, patient effort to create something permanent in a temporary world. You can rest in that feeling of solidity, of being held in place by something larger than yourself. Supported. Safe. This design was copied across the world for the most difficult offshore sites. Imagine the keepers living within those walls, hearing the deep, low roar of the sea outside, but knowing they were held safe by interlocking stone. Picture yourself inside that tower now, just for a moment. The walls are thick, so thick that the sound of the storm outside is muffled, distant. You can hear it, but it cannot reach you. You're sitting in the keeper's quarters. There's a small fire in the stove. The room is warm. Outside, the spray from the waves is hitting the windows, but you're dry. You're safe. Nothing can reach you here. Nothing can disturb you. You are held by stone and time and the careful work of people who built something to last. Not all difficult sites were rock. Some were vast, shifting sandbanks. Here, the traditional heavy masonry would simply sink. For these places, a beautiful, delicate solution was invented, the screw-pile lighthouse. Imagine a lighthouse on long, thin legs. These lighthouses rested on tall iron stilts. At the base of each stilt was a large, corkscrew-like plate. These screws were turned by workers, driving the piles deep down into the soft seabed until they were firmly anchored. The lighthouse that stood above looked fragile, like a spider resting on the water. But its lightness and open structure allowed the waves and the wind to pass right through, rather than crashing against a solid wall. It was a philosophy of strength through surrender, allowing the ocean to flow around the structure, not against it. Not fighting, not resisting, just standing steady and letting the storm pass through. There's wisdom in that. Sometimes strength is not about resisting. Sometimes it's about letting things pass through you without holding on. The wave comes and the wave goes, and you remain. Let the ingenuity of these builders wash over you now. Whether a massive stone tower defying the storm, or a delicate iron structure surrendering to the flow. Both designed to do the same simple thing, to keep the light steady. Your breathing is steady too. In and out. Steady as the lighthouse. Steady as the beam of light. Nothing you need to fix. Nothing you need to change. Just breathing. Just being. We're going to slow down even more now. We're going to step inside the daily life of a keeper. It's a quiet life. A repetitive life. And in that repetition, there's a deep, deep peace. Now, we move from the structure to the soul of the tower, the keeper. The life of a lighthouse keeper was one defined by routine and solitude. It was a quiet life, often isolated for months at a time, especially at the remote rock stations. Try to visualize the daily rhythm now, slowly and gently. There were no weekends, no holidays. The light was an unceasing commitment. But it was not a burden. It was a purpose, a reason to wake, a reason to move through the day with care and attention. The keeper's day was a ceremony, a slow, methodical ceremony dedicated entirely to the light. Let's walk through it together. Slowly. Breathe in. The keeper wakes before dawn. The darkness is still complete outside. But inside the tower, there's a faint glow from the lamp above, still burning from the night. He rises. He dresses in layers, wool and canvas, heavy and warm. He climbs the spiral stairs, his hand trailing along the cool iron railing. Breathe out. He reaches the lantern room. The massive Fresnel lens is still turning, still casting its beam. But dawn is coming. Soon, the light can rest. First, there is the cleaning. The great Fresnel lens, that crystal beehive, must be spotless. Every morning, the keeper polishes every single pane of glass, every prism, every brass fitting. Picture him now. He has a soft cloth in his hand. He breathes gently on the glass, just a small fog of moisture. And then he wipes. Small, circular motions. Gentle pressure. The cloth whispers against the crystal. A tiny speck of dust could dim the light by miles. So he works slowly, methodically, pane by pane, prism by prism. It's meditative work, polishing the glass until it disappears, until there's nothing between the flame and the world. Just pure, clear light. Feel that sense of careful attention, of doing one small thing completely, not rushing, not thinking ahead. Just this moment, this pane of glass, this gentle, circular motion. Hours pass. The sun rises. The automatic mechanism turns off the flame. The lens comes to rest. Now the keeper climbs down the stairs. He goes to the kitchen. He makes tea. Simple, strong, black tea. He stands by the window, holding the warm cup in both hands, looking out at the sea. The water is gray in the morning light. Small waves, endless and rhythmic. A few gulls will overhead, their cries faint through the thick glass. He drinks his tea. He eats a simple breakfast. Bread. Maybe some cheese or dried fish. Food that keeps well in the damp air. There's no urgency here. No rushing through the meal. Just the simple act of eating. Of giving your body what it needs. Of pausing between tasks. After breakfast, there are other duties. Checking the equipment. Recording the weather in the logbook. Wind direction. Cloud cover. The state of the sea. The keeper writes these details in careful, neat handwriting. The logbook is a record. A conversation with the past and the future. Other keepers will read these entries someday. They will know what happened on this day, in this place. Then, there is the trimming. In the age before electricity, the keeper was responsible for the fuel, oil or kerosene. The wicks in the lamps had to be carefully trimmed. A gentle clipping, ensuring the flame would burn with the steadiest, clearest light. This required a steady hand and quiet concentration. Too much, and the flame would be weak. Too little, and it would smoke and sputter. Like finding balance in your own life. Not too much. Not too little. Just right. And finally, there is the winding. The entire mass of Fresnel lens has to rotate slowly to create the flashing signature of the lighthouse. It's far too heavy to be turned by a simple motor. So, it's done by clockwork. Imagine a mechanism that looks like the insides of a giant grandfather clock. Gears and chains and counterweights, all made of brass and iron. Hanging from it is a massive weight, often a ton of metal, which provides the power. But the weight descends slowly during the night as the lens turns. The keeper has to climb up to the lantern room every few hours and manually wind the mechanism back up, much like winding an old watch. Picture him now. His hands on the winding crank. The resistance at first, and then the smooth, rhythmic pull. The chain clinks softly as it feeds through the mechanism. The gears turn with a sound. Tick-tock, tick-tock. A sound that fills the silent tower. A sound that becomes as familiar as his own heartbeat. Feel that rhythm now in your mind. Tick-tock. Slow and steady. Like a heartbeat. Like your own breathing. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. To help the lens rotate smoothly, without friction, the entire massive apparatus was floated in a circular bath of liquid mercury. This shimmering, silver metal allowed the huge lens to spin with the push of a single finger. Imagine that. Several tons of glass and brass, floating on a bath of liquid metal. The keeper places his hand on the frame and pushes gently. The lens begins to turn. Slowly. Smoothly. Almost magically light. There's something beautiful in that. Taking something impossibly heavy and making it effortless. That's the power of the right design. The right support. As the sun begins to set, the keeper prepares for the night. He checks the fuel one more time. He ensures the wicks are trimmed perfectly. He climbs to the lantern room and watches the horizon. The sky shifts through colors. Gold, orange, pink, deep red, and then purple. And finally, the soft blue of dusk. The automatic sun valve begins to open. Or, in earlier times, the keeper himself lights the flame. A match. A small sizzle. And then the glow. The light begins to shine. Faint at first in the twilight. But as the darkness deepens, the light grows more brilliant. The lens begins its slow rotation. The beam sweeps across the water. Flash, darkness. Flash, darkness. The keeper stands there for a moment, making sure everything is working perfectly. And then he climbs back down. His work is done. The light will continue through the night. You can rest now too. Your work is done. Whatever you needed to do today, you did it. Or you'll do it tomorrow. Right now, you can just rest. The light is on. You are safe. The keeper's evening is quiet. He might read by lamplight. Simple books, read many times. Or he might write letters, knowing they won't be sent for weeks when the supply boat finally comes. Or he might simply sit in the keeper's quarters, listening to the sounds of the tower. The tick-tock of the clockwork above. The low hum of the turning lens. The distant wash of waves against the rocks. Life is intensely solitary here. But it is not lonely. There is a fullness to the silence. A presence in the emptiness. The keeper is the quiet heart of the tower. As long as he performs his duties, the light will always appear, on time, in the dark. Feel that sense of quiet purpose settling over you now. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to be anywhere else. You are exactly where you need to be. And that is enough. Take a moment here. Notice how relaxed your body feels now. You're breathing slow and easy. We're going to zoom out a little. Look at the bigger picture. But we're still moving slowly. Still drifting gently through the story. Now, let us zoom out from the individual keeper and look at the coastline as a whole. To the sailor out on the water, seeing a light was not enough. They needed to know which light it was. Every coastline had dozens of towers, and a sailor mistaking one for another could lead to tragedy. To solve this, every single lighthouse was given a unique signature, a light characteristic. This characteristic was like a fingerprint. It might flash once every 5 seconds, or blink 3 times quickly followed by a long pause. A sailor simply had to watch the pattern, consult their chart, and they would know their precise position. Imagine the sailor now, standing on a deck slick with sea spray. It's night. The stars are hidden by clouds. The only light is the faint glow of the compass and the distant beams sweeping across the water. He watches, counting silently. Flash, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flash, flash, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He checks his chart, running his finger down the list of light characteristics. Ah, he says quietly to himself. That's Split Rock. We are 15 miles north of our destination. Relief washes over him. He knows where he is. He is not lost. That feeling of knowing where you are, of being oriented, of being found. Let that feeling settle over you now. You are not lost. You are exactly where you need to be. This unique identification system extended to the daylight hours as well. When the light was off, how could a sailor identify the tower? The answer was the day mark. The day mark was the unique color and pattern painted on the outside of the tower. Some were solid white. Some had wide black bands. Others had intricate red and white stripes, or spirals, or diamonds. Picture a coastline with several lighthouses visible. Each one painted differently. One is pure white, like fresh snow. Another has bold black and white horizontal stripes. A third has a spiral of red and white, like a candy cane. And a fourth is painted in a checkerboard pattern of black and white diamonds. From miles away, a sailor can look through a telescope and say, "There. That's the one with the red spiral. We're approaching the harbor at Portland. These markings were purely for visual identification during the day. Simple, clear, effective. Let the image of these distinctive patterns settle in your mind. The flashing rhythms by night, the painted stripes by day. There's a deep, comforting predictability in that. A sense that the world is ordered, that there are signs to guide you. While lighthouse keeping was often a lonely profession for men, it was also one of the first government jobs available to women in the 19th century. Often, the job was passed down from husband to wife or father to daughter. Many of these women showed incredible dedication and bravery, rowing out into storms to rescue sailors from wrecks. They were not just keepers of the light. They were guardians of the coast. Now, take a moment to absorb the vastness of this system. From the tiniest glass prism to the massive stone foundations, to the keeper carefully winding the clockwork, to the sailor miles out at sea, reading the rhythm of the flash. The world of the lighthouse is a network of trust. A quiet, continuous promise between the land and the sea. And you are part of that trust too. Part of something larger. Something that has existed for thousands of years. The simple promise that there is safety, that there is guidance, that you are not alone in the darkness. Feel that now. That sense of being held by something bigger than yourself. By history. By purpose. By the quiet dedication of people you will never meet. You are safe. The light is on. Everything is as it should be. If you're still awake and enjoying this journey, consider supporting more stories like this one by liking this video and subscribing to our channel The Steady Light. Now, let's continue our time at the lighthouse. Before we continue, take a moment to adjust your position. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Take a slow, deep breath in, filling your lungs like the rising tide, and let it out slowly, like the water retreating from the shore. Your breathing is slow now, rhythmic, steady as the sea. While the keepers of old were isolated from human society, living in their stone towers, they were never truly alone. They were deeply, intimately connected to the natural world around them. The wind, the waves, and the sky were their constant companions. One of the most common and beautiful occurrences was the interaction with migrating birds. During the spring and fall migrations, millions of birds travel long distances, navigating the vast emptiness of the night sky. For these travelers, the lighthouse was a beacon of a different kind. The powerful, focused beam of the Fresnel Lens acted as a giant, irresistible magnet in the darkness. Confused by the light, and exhausted from their long journey across the ocean, flocks of birds would be drawn right to the tower. Sometimes, they would simply spiral around the dome, thousands of beating wings shimmering in the beam, seeking the comfort of the intense brightness. The keepers, often seen as gruff and solitary men, showed great tenderness here. Thoughtful keepers understood the birds' exhaustion. They would install wooden perches and small balconies on the railings around the lantern room. On the nights of heaviest migration, they might even turn the lens off for short periods, allowing the flocks to land, rest, and recover. Imagine the sound of the wind, mixed with the soft rustling of feathers. The lighthouse, built to save massive ships of iron and wood, became an unplanned refuge for the exhausted travelers of the sky. A quiet, brightly lit sanctuary for the smallest creatures battling the darkness. Here is a small, curious break from the classic tower. Did you know that the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor once functioned as a lighthouse? From 1886 to 1902, the light in Lady Liberty's torch was maintained and operated by the Lighthouse Board. It was not a typical coastal beacon, but it was catalogued as an active navigational aid. Imagine the symbolism, a giant figure holding the light of liberty and welcome, also serving as a simple, official guide for ships entering the nation's biggest port. The light faded in the early 20th century, deemed too weak for modern needs, but for a time, the statue was one of America's most recognizable and powerful keepers of the flame. Finally, consider the treasures found near the base of these ancient towers. Sea glass. The rocks around remote lighthouses are constantly churned by the most powerful waves. Over hundreds of years, bottles, old lanterns, and even glass from shipwrecks are broken down. The ceaseless grinding of the waves against the rock tumbles the shards of glass, stripping them of their sharp edges. What remains is smooth, frosted, and perfect. These small, milky pieces of green, blue, and brown glass are the tangible remnants of time, worn down by the same ocean that the lighthouse stands against. There is a lesson in the glass. The sea glass is a reminder that even the roughest, sharpest things can be polished and made beautiful by the slow, continuous pressure of the world. Time smooths everything out. Your worries, your sharp edges, they too are being smoothed, softened, and washed clean by the tide. Nothing stays the same forever. And that is okay. Change is part of the rhythm of life, just as the season changes from winter to spring. The 20th century ushered in the era of efficiency. The beautiful, demanding labor of the keeper began its slow, peaceful decline, making way for something new. The first major shift was the arrival of electricity. The transition from whale oil and kerosene to electric arc lamps was revolutionary. The electric light was instantly brighter. It required no trimming of wicks. Most importantly, it produced no smoke to cloud the precious lens. The need for the keeper to haul heavy fuel, to constantly clean soot from the glass, and to maintain complex oil systems drastically reduced. The burden of labor was lifted. The next invention was the beginning of true automation. It was a simple, ingenious device called the sun valve, invented by a Swedish engineer named Gustav Dalén. We do not need to understand the complex mechanics to appreciate its beauty. It was a device that allowed the lighthouse to breathe in sync with the day. As the sun rose in the morning, the warmth would cause the valve to close, turning the light off to rest. As the sun set and the air cooled, the valve would open, waking the light up. This meant the light could turn itself on at dusk and off at dawn, automatically. The keeper was no longer needed for the most fundamental task of the night. It was a quiet, mechanical signal that the age of solitude was ending. By the 1980s, automation was complete. New technologies like solar power and remote monitoring meant that the traditional, live-in keeper was no longer required. The last manned lighthouses in many countries were gradually, quietly automated. It was an end to a 2,000-year-old profession. The final closing of the door on the lantern room, the locking of the cottage. But do not feel sadness for the empty tower. The tower continued to shine. The human heartbeat within was gone, yes, but the light remained faithful. Even today, with GPS and sophisticated satellite navigation, lighthouses continue to operate across the world. They serve as a crucial visual backup for sailors, a simple, non-electronic reference point that cannot fail due to power loss or signal jamming. The lighthouse has adapted. It has traded the human warmth of the keeper for the reliable, efficient cold of the machine. But its core mission remains exactly the same. It is still a guardian. It is still watching. Guidance in the dark is eternal. The technology is modern, but the purpose is ancient. And now, as we prepare to settle into the quiet calm, I have one small request. If you found peace and value in these stories of permanence and light, please consider subscribing to the Steady Light. It is the simplest way to ensure you receive our future journeys into ambient knowledge, and it helps this new channel continue its mission to bring you peaceful, reliable rest. You have found the Steady Light. This is a safe space where we combine calming knowledge with deep rest. Now, settle in. Let the stories of the engineers and the keepers settle now. Let them rest, resting like smooth stones at the bottom of a peaceful sea. We come now to the meaning of the light. Beyond its metal, beyond its glass, beyond the stone. The lighthouse is more than a navigational aid. It is a profound, enduring symbol embedded deep within us. It represents constancy. It represents security. When we look at a lighthouse, we are often looking at a metaphor for hope. Hope is a light. The light is hope. In the darkest, most overwhelming moments of life, that single, persistent light reminds us that there is a safe harbor. Even if it is far away, it stands firm through every storm. It never yields to the waves. It never yields to the wind. It simply stands. It simply shines. It is a spiritual symbol, too, representing inner guidance. That quiet, unshakable voice within us that knows the right direction. Even when the rest of the world is obscured by fog, the light is there. The tower also represents solitude and the power of self-reliance. The keeper's life was one of profound quiet. A life spent in the company of only the light, the sea, and the sky. In our busy, crowded world, the lighthouse reminds us of the power of stillness, the power of standing alone, the power of standing firm, quietly fulfilling your purpose. You do not need the noise. You do not need the approval of the crowds. Rest here for a moment. Feel the stillness. There is nothing you need to do right now. Nothing to fix. Nothing to organize. just being quiet, like the keeper in the tower, watching the horizon, safe inside. Imagine yourself standing at the top of that tower now. The wind is a clean, rushing sound. Below you, the world is dark and indistinct. But around you, the light turns slowly, patiently, casting out its comfort. There is no urgency here. Only a quiet, continuous presence. While most lighthouses are associated with the ocean, some of the most beautiful towers stand on the vast, freshwater shores of the Great Lakes. Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, these are inland seas. They are prone to sudden gales and heavy fog. Picture the Split Rock Lighthouse in Minnesota. Standing on a high, jagged cliff. Below, the water is cold and deep. The air is fresh. These freshwater lighthouses have the same massive lenses. They have the same historic mission. They prove that the need for a guardian light is universal. Wherever water meets the darkness, the light appears. They are reminders that guidance is needed on all journeys, both great and small. You are like the lighthouse, standing steady, letting the storms pass around you, still shining, still safe. It is almost time to sleep now. The history is finished. Just a little more to hear, and then rest. With the automation of the towers, the keeper's beautiful homes became empty. But the spirit of the place remained. Many of these weathered buildings have been restored. They have become places of peace, bed and breakfasts, retreats. Imagine falling asleep in the former keeper's cottage. Visualize the room. The thick stone walls are silent around you. You are warm. You are under heavy blankets. Outside, the wind blows, but it cannot touch you. The windows rattle gently in the breeze, a soft, rhythmic sound. Rattle, quiet, rattle, quiet. And outside, a few hundred feet away, you can hear the faint, low hum of a light. The automated light turning on its track. Hum, hum. You are resting in a place of deep history. A house built for safety. A house built for vigilance. You are enveloped by the same peace the keeper felt after a long night of duty. Knowing the light has done its work. Knowing you are safe to close your eyes. The lights shining today are clean. They are bright. They are reliable. They collect the sun during the day and shine it back during the night. The technology is modern, but the purpose is ancient. And though the old keeper is gone, the tower itself has become the keeper. Programmed to be unfailingly reliable. It will not fail you. There is a final curiosity. A small piece of magic. Sometimes, just as the sun dips below the horizon, a green flash. A momentary flash of green light. Visible for just a second. Just a blink. Nature's own small signal that the day is done. The night has come. And it is time to rest. You have traveled now, in your mind, from the ancient fires to the clean, quiet lights of today. You have heard the lonely wind. You have heard the steady rhythm of the winding gear. You have stood with the keepers in the lantern room. You have felt the cool, smooth glass of the lens. You have looked out over the vast, black ocean. The stories have finished. The journey is complete. Complete. Finished. Done. And now, the light is doing its work. Take one final, slow, deep breath. Let your muscles relax fully. Feel the weight of the blanket around you, the pillow beneath your head. You are at anchor. You are completely safe. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to remember, nothing left to think about. The light will continue to turn for you. It needs no keeper now. It is programmed for persistence. Listen to the very faint, rhythmic sweep of the light beam passing through the silence. It is a long, slow flash of comfort, followed by a long, slow period of darkness, and then the flash again. It is simply telling you, be still. The light knows where you are. It knows. It knows where the harbor is. Let your thoughts slow down. Let the steady pulse of the unseen light guide you into the deepest, most restorative rest. There is nothing left to watch over. There is only the dark and the promise of the light. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Flash. Darkness. Flash. Darkness. The darkness is soft. Soft and welcoming. You can rest. Rest now. Flash. Sleep now. Sleep safely. The light will watch. Will keep watch while you sleep. Flash. Nothing left. Just the light and the dark and the rhythm. Flash. Darkness. Sleep. Safe. Light. Darkness. Sleep.